Welcome to Fresh Perspectives, a series with professionals who have insights, who bring fresh perspectives. And today I'm sitting with Stuart Copeland of Stonac, who works in the automotive sector, and a sector that's going through enormous change right now, even as we speak. Stuart, can you give us a bit of context? What's happening in automotive these days?
Well, the phrase I tend to use is that the automotive sector has been doing pretty much the same thing for the last 125 years, where change has been evolutionary rather than revolutionary. The situation we're faced with now is that as we've hit the 2020s, there is a monumental change happening within the industry. So not limited to electrification driven by the governments around the world. Particularly in the UK, there's it's called the ZEV mandate, which is where manufacturers have to sell a proportion of their cars electric, which is a massive challenge for most of them. There are other zero emission technologies being developed all the time, so you will have seen hydrogen, etc., etc. You've got competition from US, with Tesla, who have, I'm not sure I call them a disruptor, but they've made a big. They don't necessarily behave in the way a traditional OEM does, which causes some concerns. And likewise with the new Chinese entrants who are making electric cars, and they're able to make them from the ground up, greenfield, and huge amounts of advantages as they come into the UK market. On top of that, there's a general move to omni-channel retailing, which means that the manufacturers become the seller of the car, still through dealerships, but that's a massive change and very complex. And on top of that, there's things like connected cars, where your car becomes almost like an iPhone, where the manufacturers can get a lot of benefits from the digital services that they can provide to it.
Right.
But apart from that, John, that's pretty much the status quo. So
Not much happening then.
nothing at all. No.
We'll come to your insights in a moment, but maybe it might first be useful to talk a little bit about the work you're doing. You mentioned omnichannel and direct sales. I know that's one of your arenas. Can you talk about some of the projects and programs that you're driving in automotive at the moment?
Yeah. So the way that I work, but also work with other sort of teams of collaborators. So we work in and we cover the area of program management and change management for these big changes that the automotive companies make. So that's our sort of key skill. So from a program management point of view, it's develop a plan with the customer, support the customer, support the teams, work with teams as they run through to deliver that. From a change management perspective, that's helping with their training, with their roadshows, tools and techniques to help with the mindset shift, which is required for both the national sales companies, but also the retailers as they move this way. It's an area of where most of these projects are confidential, so I can't go into too much detail.
Sure.
But
Sure.
but
But
we
in
are.
general, it's fair to say the way that cars are being sold has fundamentally changed over the past decade, right?
Yes. It's a shift from a lot of the manufacturers are moving from a shift where they have previously sold cars under the franchise model, where the retailer buys the car from the manufacturer and they're in full control of the margin, how they sell it, when they sell it, and they will get typically bonuses for hitting targets, to the new model, which is direct sales, or in the industry it's referred to as agency, where the retailer now becomes an agent. They have a task to sell cars on behalf of the manufacturer, so they become brand advocates. And there are various ways in which the costs, the retailer as an agent is responsible for fewer costs than they were in the past. So broadly, the profit they can make should, in theory, balance out. But they become more of a brand advocate, operating at a fixed national price, and the manufacturers are still going to promote and push prices because you still have to, they will have volume targets, but their role changes quite significantly.
Okay. So if these are the projects, what's the context of these projects? You've mentioned some of the factors already, for example, Chinese competition. What else is going on that
Yeah.
is significant from a contextual perspective on the projects that you're doing?
So I think that the key point, as you mentioned, John, is the it's not even a threat; it's a reality of competition for the traditional OEMs, the car manufacturers, from Tesla and also the new Chinese entrants. And I've explained why they have an advantage. What that means at the moment is that both volumes and margins are under pressure. Therefore, when you introduce a significant change like a move to direct sales, you're doing it in a context where your the business performance is under significant pressure. So when you move that into, okay, now we're going to make this move, and you start the planning process, having a strong understanding of the context that you're working in allows you with your customers to put together a program plan which is as best as it can mitigate the risk of making the situation worse as regards volume and margin.
Hmm. Well, indeed, not only is there the risk of volume and margin, but also the very sales infrastructure is changing at the same time.
Yeah,
That must indeed spell a lot of risk.
yeah.
Um, what then are the insights or the fresh perspectives, if you like, that you bring as a program manager in this type of environment?
I think that the key thing is to have worked to research what happens across the broader industry. And a lot of this stuff is in the public domain. So, with some research, with some reading, with some speaking to other people who are working across other, without breaching NDAs and things like that, to really understand what's going on across the whole sector.
Mm.
It's easy for people who are working on a program to move to direct sales, and it's not, it's a completely natural thing. Is that they tend to be focused on their bit, but I think if you're a diligent sort of consultant, then you have the opportunity to bring in perspectives from other people, other industries. A lot of this stuff is in the press and public domain and things like that. So it's just giving people the option to see how it's happening elsewhere, to potentially mitigate risk, try new ideas within that program delivery plan.
Right. So it's that classic ability to look around corners,
Yeah,
anticipate what's coming,
yeah,
and understand the context well enough to be able to drive delivery. Now, going slightly off piece here, you've done that as well yourself, right? So, as
yes,
well as looking around corners on behalf of the clients you're working with, you yourself have developed your own identity and your own professional profile in order to be able to do that. Um, what for you are the key messages for anyone else who might be attempting to do the same thing?
I think it's important to understand the wider world in which you work. I think it then allows you to bring a broader perspective, an external perspective to your customers. I think the other thing, from a sort of personal development point of view, it is very interesting. I have been completely fascinated by the way that the automotive sector's working at the moment. So that's it makes it really interesting. And going forward, one of the rules I have for the work that I do, all the time you're given a choice, is that I do find the whole thing fascinating.
Mm,
And I think you stand a better chance of delivering a better result if you do have that wider context, other than just being, somebody who creates a plan and just sort of, pushes it along.
right. So get in-depth knowledge of the world of your clients and the
Yes.
future
Yeah.
that they're sailing into. Stuart, great insight, great message. Thanks for joining us today.
Okay. Thanks, John. Cheers.